Hello, this is Joe MTL Vintage Cards, bringing you Game 7 of the 1962 New York Mets expansion season replay. The dice results, the cards and dice off camera, will be using the very excellent Inside Pitch game engine. And on the screen, I will be recording all the statistics using PC Replay Baseball, the fantastic game interface. So before I show you the results, you can go back and if you wish, start from game number 1, but otherwise, here we go. The 3-2 St. Louis Cardinals will face the 1-5 New York Mets. The Mets won a fantastic game in a 2-0 shutout against these same Cardinals. Here are today's starting lineups for April 19, 1962. For the St. Louis Cardinals, Curt Flood will get the start in center field, batting first. Julian Javier, second base, batting second. Bill White will play first base, batting third. Cleaning up will be the third baseman, Ken Boyer. Batting fifth will be the catcher, Gene Oliver. Stan Musial, the left fielder, he drops down to sixth spot, facing the lefty pitcher today. Carl Warwick will be in right. Julio Gote, batting eighth, will be the shortstop, and Ray Washburn will be the pitcher. For the New York Mets, riding high off their first win of the season, Richie Ashburn will play center field. Don Zimmer will be at third base, batting second. Gus Bell will play right field, batting third. Cleaning up will be Frank Thomas. Ed Boucher will play first base, batting fifth. Charlie Neal will be at second. Felix Mantilla, batting seventh, be the shortstop. Chris Cannizzaro will do the catching. And finally, Al Jackson will be the pitcher, batting ninth. You see that the New York Mets have a .261 team batting average. For the season, Al Jackson, this is his second game. He is 0-1 with a 4.50 ERA. In real life, 8-20 with a 4.40 ERA. He'll face Curt Flood, 296, 12 home runs, 70 RBIs, and the top you see what his replay stats are. And that ball is hit to left field it goes. I'm sorry, center field. As Richie Ashburn calls off Frank Thomas, he makes the play for out number 1. A fine play to get the game started, and we are underway. Julian Javier, 263 in real life, 7 home runs, 39 RBIs. And fly ball to Thomas. This time he calls off Richie Ashburn. Thomas makes the play for out number 2. Third place hitter, Bill White. White on the season off to a slow start, hitting just 158. Bill White hits a ground ball to Charlie Neal. Charlie Neal scoops it up, throws it over to Boucher for the third out of the inning. 1, 2, 3 go the Cards. To the bottom of the inning, Ray Washburn is up. This is Washburn's second game of the season. In real life, he had 25 starts, 9 relief appearances, a 12-9 record with a 4.10 ERA. He'll face the center fielder Richie Ashburn, formerly of the Phillies. 306 was his real-life stats. Ashburn hits a ball past the diving Julian Javier into right field, for a leadoff single. So Ashburn is on. He's a moderate threat to steal, but he didn't get the lead. Don Zimmer, the second place hitter. Zimmer, 213 in real life and 182 in the young season. Zimmer hits a ground ball over the head of, not a ground ball, a fly ball, a flare over the head of Javier. Rounding second over to third is Ashburn. And suddenly we have runners at the corners with nobody out for Gus Bell. The Cardinals will play at double play depth. They'll gladly give up the run to get 2 outs. 241 is Gus Bell in 1962. However, off to a slow start, just 118 in the replay. Swing and a miss, strike 3, big strikeout for Ray Washburn. And now they'll call the infield in, try to choke off that run. And that ball is hit to center field. Base hit. In to score is Ashburn. Rounding second, headed to third is Zimmer. And 1-0 lead for the Mets in the early going, and still runners at the corner. An RBI single for Frank Thomas. Ed Boucher, he's just 0 for 1. He was 161 in real life. Yikes. Infield in again. And that's a fly ball to Stan Musial. Is it deep enough to score? Yes, it is. Sacrifice fly for Ed Boucher. 2-0 for the New York Mets, as Ashburn and Zimmer score on RBIs by Frank Thomas and Ed Boucher. Charlie Neal, the 6th place hitter, batted .260 with 11 home runs and 58 RBIs in 1962. Charlie Neal hits a fly ball to Warwick. He makes the play, an easy one at that, for the 3rd out of the inning. So the Mets, riding on adrenaline from their previous day's win, take an early 2-0 lead. The cleanup hitter, Ken Boyer. Boyer hit .291 in real life. He faces Al Jackson. Boyer lines it to Jackson for the 1st out of the inning, right at him, as Al Jackson just stuck out his glove there, and there it was. Gene Oliver is the next hitter, .258 batting average in real life. Gene Oliver, fly ball to Richie Ashburn. He is there, and that's out number 2. For Stan Musial. So Musial, 11 hits and 20 at-bats in the early going. And Stan Musial, he hits a line shot to Boucher. Boucher stabs it, and that's the play. 6 in a row retired now by the Mets, as we head to the bottom of the 2nd with the Mets enjoying an early 2-0 lead for Felix Mantilla, who is batting .200 in the replay and .275 in real life. Mantilla will hit a sharp ground ball to Bill White, hard enough that he calls off Ray Washburn. He'll make the play himself for out number 1. Chris Cannizzaro, the catcher, 2 for 10 in the early going this season. Cannizzaro, swing and a miss, strike 3. The 2nd strikeout for Washburn. For Al Jackson. Al Jackson hit .068 in 73 at-bats in 1962, so we can't expect much, but you never know. And that's a ground ball to Julian Javier, and that gets by him. Just as I say it, I bring on some good luck for Al Jackson, and he's on with a 2-out single. Richie Ashburn, he singled and scored his first time up. Ashburn Way back goes Warwick. He watches it go over his head. That ball is up, up, and out of here. A home run. A 2-run shot for Richie Ashburn. And the Mets take a 4-0 lead. To a jubilant crowd at the Polo Grounds. Don Zimmer. Ground ball to Julio Gotay. Gotay gathers it up, throws it over to first base for the 3rd out of the inning. But the damage is already done thanks to a 2-out single by pitcher Al Jackson and then the home run by Richie Ashburn. Top of the 3rd, Carl Warwick. In 1962, Carl Warwick hit 17 home runs, 64 RBIs. Warwick will later go on and play for the Houston Colt 45s. That ball is hit to Zimmer. He can't get to it. And that's an infield single for Carl Warwick. Julio Gotay. In 1962, Gotay, 255, 2 home runs, 27 RBIs. Gotay grounds it to Zimmer. Zimmer over to Neal for 1, over to first, double play, a 5-4-3 around the horn double play, and that erases the leadoff hitter. Ray Washburn is up. Washburn is 0 for 2 in batting so far this season. And Washburn hits a lazy fly ball to Thomas. Easy play for out number 3. So, in 3 innings, Al Jackson faced the minimum number of batters to the bottom of the 3rd. It's Gus Bell, Frank Thomas, and Ed Boucher. And that's a fly ball to Curt Flood. He's there. In a few steps, he makes the play. Out number 1. Frank Thomas. Thomas drove in Richie Ashburn his first time up. And Thomas hits another fly ball to Curt Flood. 2nd consecutive put out this inning for the Cardinals center fielder. And with 2 out, Ed Boucher is up. He hit a sacrifice fly, scoring the Mets' 2nd run. And that's a fly ball to center, another fly ball to center field. So 3 up, 3 down go to the Mets. Curt Flood helps out Ray Washburn with a shutdown inning. To the top of the 4th we go. And wouldn't you know it, as Serendipity says, Curt Flood is up after he made those 3 putouts. And Flood, he singles past Zimmer into left field. A leadoff single. 2nd consecutive leadoff single for the Cardinals. Julian Javier is the next hitter. Javier will ground it to Charlie Neal. His only play is over to Felix Mantilla. Too fast is Julian Javier going down the line. So Javier is on a fielder's choice. He'll certainly be asked to steal. The steal is on. The throw, and he is safe. A stolen base for Julian Javier. So he's on at 2nd with only 1 out. For Bill White, Bill White is 0 for 1. And that's a ground ball to Charlie Neal, and Charlie Neal boots it. He has to hold on to the ball. All runners are safe. And we have runners at the corners with 1 out. For Ken Boyer. Boyer hits a fly ball to Frank Thomas. That ball is it not too deep? Not too deep. He'll have to hold. So that golden opportunity to get a run in, that was squandered. Gene Oliver has runners at the corners with 2 out. And Oliver draws a walk. The bases are loaded. For Stan Musial, lefty-lefty matchup. Musial lined to first his first time up. Here is the pitch from Jackson, and that's a single through the box. So Oliver walked. So that's a single through the box. Coming into score is Javier. Rounding third, is Bill White. He'll score. And it's a 2-run single for Stan Musial. And it's 4-2. Carl Warwick, he singled his first time up. And that's a fly ball to left field. Frank Thomas. Frank Thomas, he drops the ball. He wasn't able to, both runners were going around the bases with 2 outs. So that's a 2-base error for Frank Thomas. And suddenly, it's 4-3. Julio Gauthier, in disgust, Casey Stengel holds up 4 fingers, signaling the intentional walk to Gauthier to face Ray Washburn. And that ball is hit to Zimmer. Zimmer, good play, snifty play, takes it to the bag himself for the 3rd out of the inning. But the Cardinals are making it a ball game. Going to the bottom of the 4th, the Mets are clinging to a 4-3 lead. And not to be outdone, Charlie Neal singles past Javier. Leadoff single. Felix Mantilla is the next hitter. Mantilla lines it to the 3rd baseman. Straying too far was Charlie Neal. He's out. A line-out double play. Score it this way. L5-3 out. And of course, Casey is muttering under his breath, can't bleep anybody around here play this game. 2 out, nobody on for Chris Cannizzaro. And that ball gets by Gauthier for a 2-out single for Cannizzaro. Bringing up Al Jackson, who singled and scored his first time up. And now he walks. And Washburn, all of a sudden, can't find the plate. Who knows what would have happened if that double play didn't occur. Top of the order for Richie Ashburn. And Ashburn strokes a single through the box into center field. Coming in to score is Cannizzaro. Holding at second is Al Jackson. And it's 5-3. Wow, that's the 3rd hit of the game and the 3rd RBI for Richie Ashburn. Don Zimmer. Zimmer pops it up. Ken Boyer pounds the mitt. Slaps at the ball in disgust. He makes the play for out number 3. The Mets do get a run back to the top of the 5th. What a game. P5. And the top of the order in Curt Flood. Flood had a single his first time up, and he has a single now. Pass Neal into right field. Gus Bell gathers it up. A leadoff single for Curt Flood. And Julian Javier. Javier a grounder to Mantilla. He throws it over to second for one, and that's all they'll get. And Javier is on. Speedy Javier is on a fielder's choice for Bill White. And White hits a slow roller to Neal. Neal does all he could to get the play at first. That was his only play. Over to second goes Javier. And there's 2 out for Ken Boyer. And Jackson uncorks a wild pitch. Over the third goes Javier. And that's a single. A little slow roller, that's a single. But Jackson ends up throwing the ball away. So over to second goes Ken Boyer. So we're going to score a single with an E1. The third error in just 5 innings for the Mets. And it's 5-4. Suddenly, the tying run is in scoring position again for Oliver. And that's a ground ball to Zimmer. Zimmer boots it. But luckily he kept in front of him, and that's the 4th error of the game. My goodness. First and third. And here's Stan Musial again, who in the previous inning had a 2-run single. Swing and a miss. Strike 3, Musial. That was a big strikeout for Jackson. But the Cardinals do score a run. To the bottom of the 5th, with the Mets holding on to a 5-4 lead. Gus Bell will face Ray Washburn. And that'll be a grounder to short for Gauthier. He's there. That's out number 1. Frank Thomas is 1 for 2. He knocked in a run. And Thomas hits a ground ball to Boyer. Boyer gathers it up, throws it over to first, and that's out number 2. Ed Boucher is up. He's 0 for 1 with a sacrifice fly. And Boucher singles. A 2-out single for Ed Boucher. And Charlie Neal, he's 1 for 2 in the game. Charlie Neal hits a ground ball to Javier. He'll throw it over to first for the 3rd out of the inning. The Cardinals and Ray Washburn were successful in their shutdown inning. To the top of the 6th we go. Al Jackson will face Carl Warwick, Julio Gauthier, and then a decision with the pitcher up next. Ground ball to Boucher. Boucher will flip it to Jackson for the 1st out of the inning. Gauthier is up. Gauthier grounds it to short. And that's out number 2. Quickly, we have 2 up and 2 down. There we go. 2 up and 2 down. Now, in terms of freshness, Washburn could go 27 batters. He's faced 24. The Cardinals will pinch hit for him. So Jackson's day is done. A very lackluster performance. He'll be called back to the bench. And the pinch hitter will be Jimmy Schaefer. Schaefer's the 3rd string catcher, but that's okay. He'll be asked to pinch hit. 242 in real life. Swing and a miss, strike 3, and Jackson strikes him out. 3 up and 3 down go the Cardinals. Bottom of the 6th. The Cardinals will call on... See, I don't have a card for Anderson or Locke. Bauta is disastrous. Lindy McDaniel is more their closer. We'll save him for later. It'll have to be Bauta, folks. So Ed Bauta, a 1-0 record with a 5.01 ERA. He'll face Mantilla, Canizaro, and Al Jackson. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Mantilla goes back to the bench, and Chris Canizaro, who singled and scored his first time up. And Canizaro strokes a single over the head of Gotay into left field. And that's the Mets' 10th hit of the game. Al Jackson will be asked to bunt. That ball gets by. A wild pitch for Bauta. The bunt sign is still on. Successful bunt right in front of the pitcher. Ed Bauta has it. Throws it over to first. For out number 2. Runner on third. 1 out. Top of the order. And that's a ground ball to Javier. Bauta managed to get us out of this inning unscathed. To the top of the 7th. In a nail-biter, 5-4 Mets. Jackson, let's see Jackson's freshness. He's good for 30 batters. And he's faced 27. He'll face the top of the order in Kurt Flood. And ball is hit to Jackson. He snags it. Great play by the good fielding Al Jackson, and that's out number 1. Julian Javier is the next hitter. Javier hits a ground ball to short. Mantilla is there, and he makes the play for out number 2. 2 up, 2 down, and that's 6 in a row so far. The last 6 were retired by Al Jackson. And White hits a ball down the line, past Boucher into the corner. Bell picks it up. Standing up at second is Bill White with a 2-out double. So again, the tying run is on in scoring position for Ken Boyer. Boyer hits a ball into the gap, into the right center field gap. Heading for home is Bill White. Standing up at second base is Ken Boyer. Back-to-back doubles, and we are tied. Casey's had enough. He's calling back Al Jackson. And he'll ask... I need to see something. I want to make sure that I use I don't want to use a starter because in this era, even starters with 40 starts pitched in relief. I want to see the Mets next start. So on Friday, the Mets don't play. On Saturday, Miller's pitching. So as long as I don't use Miller, I want to follow the spirit of the game. So let's go back here. Pretty much I could use everyone except Miller. So it'll be Bob Moorhead. So Moorhead is being called into the game with 2 out. Moorhead in 1962 was 0-2, no saves, and a 4.53 ERA, and this is his third appearance so far. He'll face Gene Oliver in a tenuous spot. And Oliver lines it to Neal. He avoids it going into right field. That's the third out of the inning, but not before the Cardinals tie the game. We are stretching in a 5-5 game. Don Zimmer will come up. Zimmer, fly ball, Warwick is there, and that's out number 1. Gus Bell is the next hitter. And Bell hits a fly ball to Curt Flood. Flood is there for out number 2. And Frank Thomas, the cleanup hitter. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Thomas is out, and Bauta has done a job. That'll be it for Bauta. He'll be replaced next inning. Sorry, doing some scorekeeping here. To the top of the 8th, we are knotted at 5. Musial. And Musial draws a leadoff walk. This is not boding well for the Mets. And Warwick singles into right field. Musial, does he have the legs? Yes, he does. Coming around second over to third, and we have runners at the corners with nobody out. Casey is calling the infield in. Gotay, swing and a miss, strike 3. That's 1 out. Bauta gets a tap on the back. Great game, but he's being called back. Pinch hitter extraordinaire Red Schoendienst will be asked to potentially help in bringing in the winning run, the potential winning run. Infield still in. Moorhead uncorks a wild pitch. How about that? And the Cardinals, who were down 4-0, take a 6-5 lead. Runner on third. Runner on second now. Warwick is at second. Schoendienst is still the batter. Fly ball left field, not too deep. Thomas is there for out number 2. To the top of the order, and Curt Flood. I want to see Moorhead's freshness. He's good for 10 batters. He's only faced 5, so he's going to keep going. And Flood hits a ground ball to Mantilla. Easy play for him for out number 3. Lindy McDaniel will be asked to come in and try to save this game. He had 14 saves in real life. Casey calls back Ed Boucher. And Casey is looking at... He's looking at a bunch of guys. He's looking at Elio Chacon. Hey, you, whatever your name is, Gadabat, Chacon, 236 in 1962. And Chacon hits a fly ball deep into right field. The wind is keeping that ball in, and that's out number 1. Charlie Neal is the next hitter. And Neal, ground ball, second base. Javier is there for out number 2. For Felix Mantilla. Mantilla, swing and a miss, strike 3, and McDaniel holds them at bay. Now, the Mets will need a first baseman. You go down this column, you see all these players who can play for first base. So the Mets will call on Gil Hodges. So Hodges will come in to play first base. And if you look back here at the starting lineup, you'll see Frank Thomas, and then Gil Hodges will come in. Okay, that's enough of that. Into the 9th inning. Bob Moorhead might have had enough here. He's only faced 6. Casey has confidence in him. He said, go ahead, Bob. Try to keep us within a run. And that's a single that drops right in front of Gus Bell. A 1-out single for Julian Javier. Javier doesn't get the lead. Bill White is the next hitter. And White, ground ball. Neal to Mantilla to Hodges. 4-6-3 double play. 2 out. Great play at a most opportune time. Boyer is the next hitter. Fly ball to Richie Ashburn. Ashburn comes in a few steps. He makes the play for out number 3. To the bottom of the 9th in a very exciting game. We have Cannizzaro, the pitcher spot, and then Richie Ashburn. Cannizzaro. Fly ball. I'm sorry, I read the wrong column. That's a single past Gauthier. So single for Cannizzaro leading off the 9th inning. Moorhead is being called back. And Jim Marshall will be asked to hit. Left-handed batter Jim Marshall. So Marshall, 357 on the season. And that ball gets by Gauthier into left field. Holding at second is Cannizzaro. Runners at first and second, nobody out. And McDaniel in a world of trouble here. Facing Richie Ashburn. Ashburn pops it up. Infield fly rule is called. Javier makes the play for out number 1. Casey wants to win his second game of the season. And Zimmer is being called back. For Rod Cannell. Yeah, hi. Cannell. Ground ball to first. His only play is to Javier covering. That's a 3-4. Score that 3-4. We have runners at the corners, 2 out for Gus Bell. And Bell hits a ground ball to Boyer. Boyer flips it to Javier covering, and that's the ball game. The Mets had made a valiant effort. The Mets made a valiant effort to try to win their second game in a row, but they fell short. Their record drops to 4-6, while the Cardinals improved to 4-2. Let's look at the box score. The St. Louis Cardinals, 6 runs, 9 hits, no errors. The Mets, 5 runs, 12 hits, 4 errors. And the Mets left 7 on base, including that last tying run on third base in the bottom of the 9th inning. The winning pitcher is Ed Bauta, 1-0. Lindy McDaniel gets his second save. The loser is Bob Moorhead. He is 0-1. Let's look at the errors. So Zimmer made an error, Thomas made an error, Charlie Neal made an error, and L. Jackson made an error. This was a very exciting game. I hope you're enjoying these replays as much as I do. Hope to see you next time. Thank you very much. Merci. Bye.